Hello, Duckfeed and Days of Future Cast listeners. Jeremy here, here to talk to you about time travel. That's right. This episode was recorded back at the beginning of March 3rd to be exact. And here it is, almost at the end of April, and I am recording an intro for this one. This episode is all about me and Gary catching up on some MCU movies. We talk about I guess there were some movies that we talked about. Primarily, we wanted to get together and talk about the new Ant-Man movie. We had both seen it. It had just been released right around the time we recorded this. And of course, you can't talk about the new Ant-Man movie without talking about the major villain in the Marvel MCU franchise, Jonathan Majors as Kang. Since we recorded, you may have seen the news that lots of allegations have come out that he is extremely abusive, that he beat up some woman, dropped from his management, future with Marvel unclear, all of that stuff. We wanted to include this little intro just to kind of set the tone. We obviously didn't know about any of that stuff at the beginning of March, so we talk a lot of sugar on Jonathan Majors because up until this point, it seemed like he was a pretty cool dude. Obviously, that is the problem when you did you just know somebody from their work that you don't know anything that they're actually about. So yeah, it would probably be a little weird if we didn't include this. I think just to like I said, set the tone. So yeah, it's a little awkward if you feel weird listening to us talk about him. I totally understand that. Just keep in mind that yeah, it's the magic of comic book time travel. Also, if you're screaming at your radio during our Ant-Man 3 discussion thinking, Jeremy, Gary, how could you not be talking about the appearance of MODOK in the MCU? You guys are crazy. This is one of the major points of the movie, and you have to talk about it. Just wait, because we almost forgot about it until we were doing the outro of the podcast, and I was like, hold up, Gary, we gotta do the thing. So yeah, wait till the very end, and we will talk about that weird, disgusting head that they made into the MCU. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and I hope you enjoy this podcast.
These are the tales of the woods.
I'm Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast, and it's time for us to revisit the MCU. Phase 5, Gary. How do you feel about Phase 5, Phase 4, phases?
Phase 4 is super mixed. Phase 5 is 100% good so far, based on the one movie that's come out from it for me. So far, the best phase.
Which phase
overall
of your life are you in? Do you think since we're in our 40s, we're in Phase 4? Is that what we're doing, or do you? Because I feel like I'm in like Phase 3. I think like there was idiot child, then there was like adult idiot child, and now there's senior adult idiot child.
I'm certainly a Phase 4, like in that, because there's like little kid, edgy teen, and then there was like my married 20s kind of zone, and then like afterwards the dating after the marriage, and then now I'm like settled down. So I'm a Phase 4 boy.
See, I feel like that's 5 phases though. I think you're Phase 5 now.
Might be Phase 5. Yeah, it depends. I don't know how many phases I get.
Nobody,
I had to see whether Kevin
nobody does,
Feige
brother. Nobody does. Live every day like you can.
Like Kevin Feige drone strikes my house when I get to the appropriate phase, and then the Fantastic Four shows up at my funeral in the post credits.
I saw
a big deal.
Anthony Mackie interview where they were asking him about like script security, and he described the process of like somebody picking him up, taking him to a location to meet the script person, who then like unlocks the laptop and then pulls up the script and like sits it in front of Anthony Mackie and then watches Anthony Mackie read the script.
It's incredible.
And then they close it, and then like Anthony Mackie goes on his way, and he doesn't have a copy of the script anymore. And I'm like, wow,
it's so dumb.
It's so dumb and hilarious, dude.
The reason, my guess is the reason behind that is nothing good. Like, it's that there are people who are watching these movies just because they want to know what happens now. So if they just knew what happened, they wouldn't see it at all. Yeah. Like the people who are kind of over, like the spell is broken, they still feel committed. They have to see the post credits thing. They have to see how the next chapter works. And they just read it.
I also think that there's probably a healthy population that will go grab spoilers just to like go into a Twitch chat and be like, Iron Man dies or whatever to spoil everybody's great time.
Assholes.
Yeah. They're in phase 2. All of those guys are in phase 2. That's shitty team behavior.
That's the phase of their life in. We haven't done one of these in a while. We just wrapped, even though we're recording it before we recorded it, podcasting is weird. So we just wrapped up Uncanny X-Force.
Yes.
Taking a little break this before our next comic run, which we're going to announce here. And we got a guest, which is fun.
It's gonna be super fun. I'm excited.
At least for part or most or all of that. But we still see these movies and such, and TV shows. Even though I'm the one who's holding that up, I'm behind on TV. I have to watch Guardians Christmas Special and Miss Marvel.
You don't have to watch Guardians if you don't want to.
I just feel like I should to say like
I felt the same way and I regretted it.
Yeah, I know. At least it's a one off.
Yeah, it's a one shot.
It's an afternoon and I can look at my phone while I'm doing it. So we're gonna talk about Thor: Love and Thunder, which we can't remember if we officially talked about. I know we talked about it a little bit. Wakanda Forever, Ant-Man, and the Werewolf by Night TV movie.
Yes.
Thing.
I'm excited to get into these. This Marvel, the most recent Marvel stuff is kind of all over the place in terms of the movies, because I think I liked Thor: Love and Thunder better than you. Just because I'm an Axl Rose fan. I think that's the only difference. Like it gets 0.75 points because there's a lot
just from Guns N' Roses use.
Exactly. Yeah, they put November Rain in it. I can't not like that.
Yeah. No. The November Rain is great. I get it. They should have just cut out the middleman and had Axl like be Beta Ray Bill or something,
or just Jane Foster. That's kind of his range. I mean, if you think about it.
I didn't like that one, and I had a moment. It's funny. I'd be curious to see if you're in the same place, because I know you've some of these more recent movies you haven't felt, and you didn't like that Guardian special, stuff like that. Where I was like, oh, is the spell broken? Like I saw Love and Thunder, and I was like, man, I hated that. Like, do I not like these movies? And I'm looking at a list right now of all of them chronologically, and realizing like, no, it's always been about a half to a third I haven't really liked that much. Yeah. That's always been true. Like I was looking at this list, the third one that came out was Iron Man 2.
Isn't that weird?
So they've always been hit and miss, right? Like I don't like Thor 1 and 2 at all. Like even a little bit, they've always been real hit and miss. And I think they're kind of continuing as such. There's a lot of, the sky is falling, it's over feelings. And then I have to think back and be like, no, I really liked, the third Spider-Man. Really like Doctor Strange. I loved Ant-Man 3, which is not a popular opinion. That showed up on the EV Club, did like the worst, third in a trilogy thing, and they included it. I'm like, you're fucking out of your mind.
Yeah, I don't.
Worst and third in a trilogy?
I don't get that at all.
Like,
yeah.
I do not. It feels like people saw a different movie when they're talking about that one to me.
I feel like with Thor, like I do feel like there's an element of like sequel fatigue with some of this stuff, because specifically with Thor 4, I realized as I was watching that movie how done I was with like this portrayal of Thor. And it was a bummer because like obviously at the end of that movie, Jane Foster passes away. So there wasn't even like a handoff of the hammer or anything. Like it just seemed like, oh, we're just kind of pushing him to the side with this kid at the end of the movie, and like that now I guess we are quote unquote done with him. But I just and Ant-Man is not quite there for me, because I feel like Ant-Man hasn't been in. I know that he hasn't been in as many of like the Avengers movies as Thor was, or focused on as much as Thor was.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that there's just straight up character fatigue. But then also, I think the MCU really has a problem with tone right now. Like,
yeah,
Thor especially
100%. Like, yeah, Thor is the most tonally confused movie I've seen in a very long time.
Yes, I mean it is so super like sad and serious at times, while also wanting to do this like trademark goofiness that what's his name brings to all of his movies, and it is so frustrating to watch those two battle each other. Like you can't have these like sad moments while someone's getting chemo, as well as having like real dumb music moments or whatever. Like I just kind of hate all of that stuff when it doesn't mesh together.
Yeah, it doesn't work. They took it too far. Like the weird thing about Ragnarok. So like I love Ragnarok.
Yes,
and I've watched it before. Not too recently, but not too far in the past either. I think it holds up really well. Right. The thing about Ragnarok is it's about a serious thing. I think Ragnarok is one of the movies that has like a serious through line. Like, Asgard is its people. It's not the location. It's this is a cool lesson for Thor to learn, and he goes through an arc, and I think it's a really well done movie. That's a serious theme for that, but it doesn't echo real world as much. You know, it's more abstract. So like, even though it's serious and real lives are contained with it, it's not straight up taking imagery of people who have had dying relatives, you know, and using that imagery.
Yeah.
Like, it's not dealing with chemo. It's not dealing with child death. Like, Gore, the God Butcher, was a cool character in Thor 4, but he was totally serious and, dour and bleak in a way that didn't match everything. Like, the sliders were turned in both directions too far.
Yeah.
The serious stuff was too serious. The goofy stuff was too goofy.
I feel like Christian
it could
Bale
not hold.
was just like in his own movie.
It doesn't feel like he was in the same thing at all.
Yeah, like it's
like
just,
it was fun to watch. Like, he's a charismatic actor.
Yes.
Like, I thought that character was cool. You know, it hit the cool factor to me. Like, oh, this guy's cool. I think this is interesting. I like watching this guy, but totally different movie.
And I like the like all of like the representation of his powers and like the concepts and things. But then like you wrestle, and I think Cosmic Marvel's really going to have this problem, and that maybe is why I'm not like super on board for the next Guardians movie that's coming out. Is that like you introduce these concepts and you're left with so many questions, and it just feels like too much. And
yeah.
I don't know. Like I think with the comic books, like I've come to kind of expect that, where I can just like fill in the blanks with my imagination. But up until like phase 4 and now phase 5, like the MCU has felt really, really grounded, even when there's like characters flying all over the screen. And now it just feels like someone snipped the fucking tether and is like, everything is possible. Let's do everything. Like ever since Loki introduced the multiverse, it's just the most pulpy comic booky stuff ever, which is fine. Like it's a comic book movie. I'm not actually complaining about that, but I think it leads to these problems where we have, you know, this Zeus guy running around in a fucking arena full of gods, and just like openly bragging about murdering people, and then you have to like ask, like, oh wait, are you actually like, we're not commenting on any of this stuff? You just think it's like a funny portrayal, right? Like we're not making any kind of insight. Yeah,
nothing to this. Yeah, like it's weird too, because for me that expansion of scope. The actual multiverse stuff actually works pretty well for me, and the way that they're tying it in with other movies, I think, is very clever. Like that 100%. Like I loved the third Spider-Man movie. Like I thought No Way Home was awesome. All that shit worked like super hard for me. And whenever they do something similar to that, like that's the thing I keep hearing and suspecting about Deadpool 3 is it's going to bring all this shit together, and there's probably going to be X-Men shit that happens in it from the Fox movies and stuff. Like put that in my veins.
Yes,
I'm way into that. I think that's very clever. A way of having like an alternate universe and a 616 in the movies by having these conglomerates and their rights issues kind of stand in for that. That tickles me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when they keep going further out into space, they keep going further out into like realms, you know, it loses me a bit. Like the whole God City thing in Thor 4 is so weird, because it's like, oh, okay, like this is the first time we're learning Zeus fucking exists. So
right?
So Zeus exists, you know, like I don't know. It just ends up feeling a little weird. It doesn't feel as elegant as some of the stuff.
Yeah, I feel like in a weird way, the MCU has been had a relatively deft touch with some of these concepts that they were introducing, and like being grounded to Earth really helped with that. And I know like Guardians was a good movie despite not being on Earth, right? Like it was introducing like planets and this outer space civilization, but like
the Nova Corps shows up in that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like all kinds of dumb ideas show up in that.
But for some reason, that doesn't, like when it comes to deities and stuff, like I just feel like I don't know, man. Like that whole segment in the middle of that movie just dragged that movie down for me so bad, because I mean Russell Crowe is having the time of his life doing it, but it's all so incredibly over the top and crazy that like it was just dumb. Like I just couldn't help but think that the whole thing was really, really dumb.
This is a thing where I simultaneously agree with that, but also it's one of the only parts of that movie I really remember.
I think that's true. Yeah,
it's boring as hell. Like, in addition to that, like I remember that. I remember Jane Foster with a really, really too shiny helmet, fighting off monsters in the village, and I remember Gore the God Butcher putting all the children in the shadow death cage, and being creepy as hell, and it being like making me laugh out loud, even though I was not meant to laugh out loud at that. It was supposed to be spooky.
Yeah.
You know, I was just like, this is so fucking dumb. Yeah, that has taken the cake now. That is Thor 4 is my least favorite Marvel movie. I was looking at this list here. I'm like, yeah, I don't think there's one I like less than that.
Man, even Eternals, huh?
Even Eternals. I think Eternals was more interesting.
Eternals,
just because it didn't have that character fatigue. Like, I don't like Eternals very much, but
Eternals didn't have November Rain, so I guess I'm always gonna have.
Someone didn't stay for the post credits where Black Knight cries over a wedding cake.
I guess not. Give me Jon Snow as Axl Rose in a new video for November Rain, please. I would like to see that recreated. Is that
such not a good actor?
You think that's a cameo buy? Could I just go to Cameo and try to get him to do? No, probably not. There's a lot of stuff not to like about Thor, and the most recent Thor movie, and it's really, it makes me mad because like I really wanted Valkyrie to be much more of a part of it. I felt like she was completely sidelined throughout the entire thing.
Yeah.
Even like the framing device is told by the rock guy.
Korg.
Yeah, Korg or whatever.
Korg, yeah.
I just like there's some that joke, like that the cadence, and it just made me realize like, oh, I'm kind of over this director now. Like I kind of.
It's weird though, because it is a familiarity breeds contempt thing, right? So like, I think you hit it in one with that, because like the Korg was cute in Ragnarok because he was a little side comic relief character, but now we're meant to like care about Korg, and Korg is getting an action figure, and like, I don't know, I can't get into Korg on that level.
And he's gay rock married, which is great for Korg. I'm happy for him. Like I'm glad he's gay rock married, but it's still like
it's not the diversity win that I think that they think it is, and it's not enough. You know, for me to be like, yeah, man, show me more Korg.
I need a spin-off event or something.
Yeah.
No, thank you. I do not need this.
It is a painful transitionary period as they try to transition to new actors.
And I would imagine
and new setups.
And I don't imagine, like, as we've talked about with some of the previous stuff too, like their whole schedule got so fucked with COVID that a lot of this stuff I think is they're trying their best to recover whatever kind of arc that they had originally had planned before everything went to shit. And you know, I think you see that in like a lot of the visual effects stuff. There's a lot of the like fighting and stuff in Thor that I just did not appreciate. Where like Ragnarok is a visual spectacle of a movie that I was like yelling throughout that it was so good.
Well, that's a whole issue that like people who get frustrated that like these movies always try to get gotcha me on.
Yeah,
is the labor rights abuses. Like, oh, if you like these movies, you must be in favor of those.
Yes,
it's like,
exactly right.
No,
yes.
No, of course that fucking sucks, man. Like I don't want VFX artists to be, you know, taxed beyond belief.
I just want to be like, how many diamonds did you buy your wife, bro? Like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're all participating in the system. Like, fuck off.
Yeah.
I do want to call out, talking about visual effects though, the battle on the like grayscale planet or whatever, I thought was absolutely. I thought that was so fucking sick. I thought that would like all of that stuff was really really cool. Like when it goes to black and white, drains the color, the weird
at the end.
Yeah, like the weird like they're on a tiny planet, like they're bigger than the planet kind of thing was really really fucking weird to me and great. Like I really liked the scale of this small planet that they were circling around on. I thought that stuff was really neat. It takes a long time to get there, and then like at the end of the movie it's just like, do you like your daughter more than death? Do you want to make this choice?
Do you want to give daughter to Thor, you acquire daughter, you know. There's a micro Thor now.
This store gives plus 22% to Thor infected enemies.
Yes. God, I hate it when I get Thor infected. Oh,
I don't know if you saw any of that going around. Did you see that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Good. I'm just making sure.
It's very funny.
Hilarious.
So, like, there were things, a mixed bag, right? Like, least favorite is maybe, I might have to walk that back a little bit. It might just be most disappointing because I liked Ragnarok so much.
Yeah.
You know? Because I was just like looking at it, like Thor 2 is just over there being like, hey, you remember me? I fucking blow.
Yeah.
Like
do you remember Elon Musk being in that movie and him?
Yeah.
Do you remember Scarlett Johansson beating up not Vince Vaughn, whoever the dude that plays Happy is? I can't remember his name.
Yeah, Jon Favreau.
Yeah. It's
he's got a lot of Vince Vaughn energy. You're all right.
I get him confused constantly. Yeah. So
they're both big doughy white guys, just one slightly doughier than the other. AKA me and Cole.
And it made me think like,
choose who's doughier.
It made me think like, do I just not like Taika Waititi movies anymore? And then I got to thinking like, what Taika Waititi movies do I actually like? Like I like What We Do in the Shadows. I like the TV show What We Do in the Shadows. which he doesn't really have that much to do with. And then
It's hard to tell how much he had to do with it, to be fair.
there's
You know, like
there's a joke going around though, where Jermaine Clement's like, yeah, he showed up on set one day, like when they were accepting an award or whatever.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I did not see that.
And maybe he's like
That's
writing
telling.
behind the scenes, or whatever. It could be just a joke between those two dudes or whatever. I'm not saying anything, but like really, it's just Thor Ragnarok. Like that's all of the affection that I have for that dude is what we do in the shadows and Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah. Yeah. He plays an intolerable villain in Free Guy. It's impossible to watch.
I can't.
He does a "what you talking about" Willis reference. Like it's I don't deploy this word really lightly, but it's cringy as shit. Really hard to watch. The next thing that came out though was good, I think, which was Werewolf by Night.
So what did you know about this going in? Because I knew absolutely nothing about what it was, other than like I remember them announcing this and showing like we're gonna do a TV special, Werewolf by Night, during October, and I was like, that's so fucking weird. Like, what is that? And then a couple of people on Twitter were like, oh my god, this was so fantastic, I loved it. And I was like, fuck it, let's do this. And I turned it on and had just the best time with it. Like, really entertained throughout.
Like, I knew about the character because of a weird mid-2000s comic I read where Nick Fury recruits a bunch of monsters.
Okay.
And one of them is the Werewolf by Night. I think it's called Nick Fury and the Howling Commandos, which is cute. But so I knew about the character, but it's the most obscure thing they've done anything with. Like, nobody cares about it. He's not like active right now in a big way. So it was really weird. Like, I was really excited. I watched the trailer, and the trailer has Elsa Bloodstone in it, who I think is cool from the comics. I knew about from Next Wave, but have seen her in other stuff. I think she's neat. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. Looks good. You know, like visually looks good. Like the black and white looks cool.
Imagine
this has a cool effect.
Being such a fan of Next Wave and knowing Elsa Bloodstone from there and not knowing she was going to show up in this at all.
yeah. Just be like, oh shit.
Oh my God. I was like, holy, is she an Avenger now? Like, I'm ready.
Well, I didn't know Man-Thing would be in it,
yeah,
which was awesome too. Like, it's really fun. I want them to do, I would almost be, you know, we talked about this, like in general, I think the TV shows have been more consistent for a little while. Like, I haven't watched any of the Marvel TV shows and been like, this is a fucking death march.
Yes.
You know, like there's nothing I've watched yet where I've been like, I cannot handle this. Even the weakest ones, like even like a Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I think like it's actually like pretty fun. You know, there's good stuff in it. I liked watching it. Right. Transitioning to this hour-long like TV movie format might be a really good idea.
Yeah, dude. I
like
think I told you
doing more of this stuff.
I think I pitched this to you when we originally, like when just me and you, like on before we even hit record on a podcast one day. I was like, this is the way they should introduce all of the X-Men. Like, I want Scott's origin. Like, I want the high school. I want it to be an hour-long setup, and then when he shows up in the fucking mansion, like we know everything we need to know about that guy because he's over here, because we have this 1 hour special. And like doing that, like you don't have to invest huge amounts of money. Like, you get these actors, you can do a little testing, figure out what people like all this cool stuff.
The Weapon X story, like the Wolverine Weapon X, like Larry Hama comic, should 100% be an hour-long TV special.
Oh yeah, dude.
Like, if they make that a movie, it's going to be so goddamn boring.
I think so too.
Like, as a 3-hour movie. But if they do that as an hour-long TV, like an action, like very bloody, you know, push it as like hard PG-13 as hard as they can, like a John Wick action style thing, be incredible. You know, like they could make that really good.
I mean, and there's so many of these stories I think that would be really great around this, like in that format, just like where you don't have the 2.5 to 3 hour fucking. You called it a death march, but like I just think like because right now, you know, thinking about coming out of Wakanda Forever, which felt like a funeral more than like the funeral of my stepfather that I just attended a few weeks ago. Like, Jesus,
I did not like that movie, man. Like that's excruciating. There's no business to have being 3 hours long.
But I guess outside of all that, like this was just really fun. Like the black and white format works really well. They played with it with the lighting. All of the monsters and everything are just really unique. All of the characters were really fun, and like the super stupid weapons and everything like that. Like the concept was good. Man-Thing was there, which I mean, this is fucking great. Like again, the whole time I'm just having just an absolute blast. Like, it was so much fun.
Yeah, it's really fun, really well paced. I really hope they incorporate that shit. It would have been, if they hadn't already positioned him as a movie guy, this would have been a great place to introduce Blade.
Yeah.
I kept expecting Blade to show up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Blade hunts monsters. Like, it would be a great post-credits thing if they were going to do that.
I don't even think there was a post-credits thing to this, if I remember right. I don't think so.
No, which is fine. Like, I'm not trying to be a simp for post-credits things, but if they're going to commit to this, everything is a chapter in one big story thing. It makes sense to have connective tissue. I think part of the reason why this broke through to more people was because it didn't have that. You know, it just didn't, like, it is kind of freestanding, like little black and white monster action thing.
It also like removed something that you and I have complained about, which is them showing literally everything that's cool about a movie in the trailer for the movie. Like having, we'll talk about this with Ant-Man, but like knowing that MODOK was in Ant-Man before I saw Ant-Man was a real bummer for me personally. I was like, I didn't want to know that. Like, I just didn't. I would have just, if I had just seen MODOK come out of nowhere, I would have been like, you were fucking kidding me. Like, but yeah. I
ended up reading it, but I didn't see him.
Well, we'll get there in a minute because I want to talk a lot about MODOK.
What seeing him is like. The Werewolf by Night is super cool.
Yes.
There's so many things in the comics that would lend themselves better to that format than a TV show or movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you're talking about X-Men. Like, it'd be real if they wanted to introduce like a Squirrel Girl.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Like, one of the cool things about Werewolf by Night is that, one of the things I liked about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is it had some horror movie beats. You know, it wasn't a horror movie, but it had horror movie beats. Werewolf by Night, they could take different genres, you know, and do them as this. You know, if you wanted to do like introduce Patsy Walker Hellcat or whatever, do it as as like almost like a sitcom romance with some superheroing in it.
Yeah.
Do Squirrel Girl as a college story with some superheroing in it. You know, it's kind of what they did with She-Hulk, and it's part of why She-Hulk is so good, is that the genre is not superhero.
Yes.
You know, the genre is sitcom plus superhero. Yes. And them kind of blending that stuff, I think, is a really cool way to expand, other than just expanding into realms and further out into space and bigger concepts.
Our buddy Dave over at the Comic Book Herald has been raving about Moon Girl and the Devil Dinosaur.
I've heard that's really good too.
Yeah. And I
haven't watched it, but I heard it's great.
I watched the trailer, and it's difficult to like see the tone that the whole show would take from the trailer, because the trailer was definitely like Saturday morning cartoon vibe, and so I'm curious how it would be to just actually watch it, because it's obviously aimed at kids. It's a cartoon aimed at children. So I was like, I wonder, like, what is getting Dave about this? Because it just really seems. Yeah. But if it's if it's the stuff we're talking about, like if it's Marvel, being like relatively inventive and leaning into the strengths of their art styles and things like that, then I'm of course 100% here for it. So.
Yeah, and taking more kind of real life characters and introducing them in an animated format is also a cool idea.
Yeah.
To me. That would also be a cool way to do a Squirrel Girl if you want to do a Squirrel Girl.
How do you feel about them doing the Spider-Man sequel stuff as an animated series? Have you heard about this? Did you?
The Spider-Man in high school?
Yeah. Kind
of thing? Yeah. I curious. Open-minded. I don't have a strong opinion one way or another.
Yeah.
Curious to see how they'll do it.
I kind of find it fascinating from a storytelling perspective that we didn't see the origin story, and now they're going to go back and get that. So,
I'd prefer that than to have a movie about it.
Yes, exactly.
I'm glad they skipped it in the movies. Like, the Spider-Man trilogy is pretty strong in these movies, and like in part because they don't waste a lot of time.
God, and imagine all of the creative ways you can watch Uncle Ben die since it's animated. Like, you don't have to film anything. You could just watch it from several different angles.
They should release an omnibus where like Uncle Ben dies on every page. Like, you just like flip through all the different multiverse of ways he gets tortured.
The Marvel Endverse, the Marvel Uncle Ben Endverse.
Me and the band were all joking about using magic to save Eric Clapton's son from Mephisto. Band practice.
Yes, okay. Perfect. My one wish to a genie would be that Eric Clapton's son could actually fly, and to say, and then he goes.
Hell yeah, dude! That song would get so weird. Like,
and then the kid
probably
just
start out
immediately
the same, and then and turn into a psychedelic. Like, whoa, what the fuck, man? Super son.
And then the kid immediately loves me more than he does Eric Clapton, and I adopt him, and I marry whoever his mother was. But,
yeah, it's like how Thor gained kid.
Exactly. Yeah. Eric Clapton's
Yeah.
such a shitbag. I just want to take his dead children away from him. I don't think he gets
Yeah,
that out
I
of
mean,
this.
that guy does suck. Complete amounts of ass. Speaking of also sucking complete amount of ass, there are things to like about it. I did not like Wakanda Forever very much.
It's I don't know. I know why. Like I think that this everything that is wrong with this movie is because the main actor died and they weren't expecting it, and they really went out of their way to pay tribute to Chadwick Boseman. And I think that they did so much of that they forgot that they were making a Marvel movie almost, and that's obviously like
It's almost like they forgot they were making a movie at all. So I think that is a big problem. Like, don't get me wrong. The fact that it is a funeral movie that kind of expects the viewer to mourn a character / actor the same way their family would, like, is nuts. Like I like Chadwick Boseman. I thought he did a good job.
Yeah.
As Black Panther, and really talented actor. He seemed like a good person.
Yep.
I didn't know him though. You can't try to cash that emotional check. And it's different than just having the characters react to it. Like there's plenty of that in this movie, and some of that was really good. Like, the characters would be affected by this, but it was really, really leaning on me feeling it in a personal sense. And I was not, because of course I wasn't. I didn't know the guy. It wasn't a friend.
The first half of this movie feels like it's just that stuff. Like it's a lot of Shuri struggling with her grief and her lack of faith, or her like missing faith in whatever the religion is, or whatever spirituality the family is shared, or Wakanda shares, or whatever. And that stuff is okay, but like Shuri was like a very much a sidekick character, and not quite like comedy relief, but like kind of comedy relief a little bit in the first movie. And so to lean on her for a lot of this emotional work, it just felt like it was just I was just swimming through someone's grief, and I was like, what are we doing? Like, why did we feel the need to go this deep into this? And it's because, like, I think that whole set, I think that whole cast and crew was probably absolutely heartbroken, justifiably, that Chadwick Boseman died. Yeah.
Ryan Coogler was going to retire.
Yeah.
Like after that, like it hit them real hard. And I'm not trying to take that away, in purely from like a craft context though, like it made a worse product to me.
Yes.
Like it might have been necessary to get this poison out, they couldn't just like recast them and move on. I get that. But the ratios are all wrong. The other problem in this though, and this is something I haven't seen a lot of people talk about, is like the dour tone. Like that's weird. It's a funeral of a movie. There's more stuff in Wakanda Forever that should have been cut than any of these movies I've ever seen. I defy anyone to tell me why, what's his head, Ross Everett, Martin Freeman, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus were in this movie at all.
Oh, it's just to set up the other movies, right? Like that was it. Like that little.
They didn't even set up the other movies though. Like it just cut to them. It would be Wakanda would be like, the Americans aren't going to like this. And then it would cut to 20 minutes of the Americans not liking it, like in real time. And it didn't do anything. Like all of the scenes with Martin Freeman is him picking up a phone and being like, we got trouble. But it would go on for a really long time. It made no fucking sense to me. And I was expecting Julia Louis-Dreyfus to be a big part of the movie because she's going to be the Queen of the Thunderbolts or whatever. She should have been wheeling and dealing or something.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, like, again, I'm not trying to sound like a simp for these post-credit scenes. What if at the end she recruited Namor? Like, hey, I know you've got these problems. We should work together, actually. Not everyone on the surface is against you. Like, we could actually, I don't know, something. But every time it cut to Martin Freeman jogging, I wanted to fucking die. It happened like 6 times.
It was a lot. And like every time that he's like, he's so much of a nervous character in this because he's his allegiances are pulled from one side to the other and everything. And
who cares?
Like
is anybody invested in this character? I was trying to think back to Black Panther and I was like, what did he do in Black Panther? And the answer is also fucking nothing.
Yeah.
It's really, and I hate that his name is Ross Everett and people just call him Ross. But then there's General Thunderbolt Ross, who people also just call Ross.
Yeah.
I just don't know what he's doing there. he's a fine actor. Like I like Martin Freeman, but it was really, really frustrating to me.
It's wild to me that they are making like weird CIA guy like a recurring character so much, right? Like I mean, that's all this.
Yeah.
Like it could just be a different CIA person every time. I love Martin Freeman too. I think he's great. I loved him in Lord of the Rings, but I just don't. I just think that you don't need this guy showing up to be this character every single fucking movie. Like, and I'm with you. Like, again, when I saw the runtime for Wakanda Forever, I was like, what are we doing? Like, I know we have a lot to do. There's Namor, and then there's Ironheart, and there's Grief, and apparently we're gonna kill Angela Bassett to get her off the payroll. Gotta get rid of that shit.
So she can get her Oscar and get out.
Yeah, Phase 5, get this chick out of here. I don't know, man. Like the movie was really all over the place to me, and the things that I like about it are really, really specific. Like all of the cool like Wakanda technology. I mean, is super interesting, and like I love all that stuff.
I got to give a one weird, funny reverse shout out to that though. The beginning of this this movie begins with a 20-minute funeral, basically like a death scene and then a funeral for a long time. The fact that Black Panther's limited edition Marvel Black Panther casket gets fucking beamed up into space into a Wakanda ship.
It's so fucking weird.
I was howling. Like I was like, I'm supposed to be sad. This is the funniest thing I've ever seen.
I don't know why they did that. Like, why did they like that imagery is so fucking weird, man. Like, does everybody get this spaceship?
It's
like, what are we?
My home planet needs me.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna recut that entire movie with a slide whistle over that ascent.
I like
coffin.
What does every Black Panther get that? Like, how long have y'all had these planes? Like, what are we doing?
They'll have to share the same coffin. They shake and bake, baby, shake and bake.
I don't know, man. I thought that was. I do think that the moments that this movie like really tries to sell as emotional sometimes completely fails. At least for me, because it's a Marvel movie. Like I'm having fun. I'm trying to have fun with it, and I can appreciate like emotional stuff. But at the same time, like y'all are doing a funeral, and I'm not. This is not a funeral kind of situation.
It's also, because of the circumstances of the actor, the actual conditions of the character's death are immaterial in this. Like he just got sick off screen, which is fine. Again, they couldn't do anything. They couldn't like bring Chadwick Boseman back to life, but it made for a less satisfying story. There was no narrative to him dying.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to the other major deaths we've gotten in the MCU, like to like Black Widow or Iron Man or what have you, and you can say what you want to say about those, right? Like there's discourse around all of those things, but at the very least, like they were cool, heroic sacrifices.
Yeah.
They were cool moments that are about the character. This thing that is supposed to be about the whole the character leaves, that is something you can do. It's just weird because every side character in this tableau has all of a sudden been promoted to competing for main character, and none of them are quite good enough. Like I liked Shuri. You mentioned earlier she's kind of comic relief in the first movie. She's fine, but I don't think she's leading character strong.
I agree with you.
Either as a character or as an actress.
Mm-hmm.
Like the charisma isn't quite there for her. And
absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, it doesn't so her just feeling the absence of this character when we have no fun or cool context for the character leaving, and because we in the back of our head are just like, oh yeah, the actor died of stomach cancer.
Yeah.
Doesn't work emotionally, I think.
And it gets to that like thing that you mentioned about Thor, where like it's a weird moment where they're combining the limitations of reality in this extremely unrealistic world, because like the first part of that movie is like her desperately trying to solve this dude's sickness using her crazy technology that has up till now been able to do literally anything we wanted it to do. Like we can project
Martin Freeman, so he can show up in future movies.
Yeah, we can grow, we can put arms back on people. We can project huge holograms to make it look like this place doesn't exist for 100 years. We can do all.
They built an
thing.
arm.
They built an arm. Yeah. Like they did all this stuff except for this thing. And again, I've realized like it's a complex conversation to have, because this person in the real world died from this thing, and this movie is trying to cope with that fact on a number of different levels. But it really does just mean that the movie just really, really suffers for it, especially when they double down on it and Namor kills Angela Bassett. And then we have a whole other grief situation to go through, and more funerals and more getting beamed into space and all this other stuff. And I was just like, oh my fucking God, like please stop killing people at this point.
Yeah. It was too much. You know, it bummed me out because it felt like they had previously written a character out in a much more satisfying way.
Yeah, and I'm sure they had.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely believe,
Yeah.
because they had to redo this movie so much. I definitely believe that
Yeah.
there was a
Yeah.
first draft of this that went better. Let's talk about Namor, because I think
Oh yeah, let's talk about the part of the movie that's cool
that
and it works.
I think you and I are both
against all fucking odds
on the record
Yeah.
for hating this dude. And man, it is. I just can't believe that I liked him so much. Like they just the guy just fucking nails the just smarmy attitude. The fucking ankle wings work. Why are those cool? I don't know.
I don't know why those work, but they work. He's great. He in this movie. He works really, really well. I think Tenoch Huerta is the name of the actor. Not somebody I've seen before
Me either.
and stuff.
Mhm.
But he's awesome in this. Sells like the tone perfectly. He's also reasonable in this. Like, it's hard to do Namor because if you just make him a mustache twirling villain, like, you know, eventually Namor rides the line. Like, he's in everything. He's good and he's bad. They did a really good job of that. Like, his motivations were not crazy. And it thematically made sense. He was what the Wakandans were before the end of Black Panther 1.
Yes.
You know, he's going to be isolationist at any cost. You know, he's Killmonger taken to that, you know, without the explicitly evil shit. He's Killmonger taken to an extreme. You know, it made sense thematically. Really great performance. Looked cool. Like, one of the things I loved about him is that he was very powerful, but he flew around and fought stuff. He didn't like shoot beams or like,
Yes.
you know, do anything like that. Like, he just went up and punched stuff and sliced it with his spear, you know?
Which I mean, it's kind of dumb, but like, we get a lot of beams. Sometimes
we get so many fucking beams.
we get a lot of beams, or, you know, or waves of force or whatever. And so to have someone just walk up and like fucking like slap somebody with a big spear is really fun. I thought all of the origin stuff was really well done. I loved the way that he presented his argument to Shuri of just like, no, we're kind of in this together. If you think about this, like we're both on the outskirts of this nation, of this earth, essentially. Like, all of these world governments are there, and we are here because we have access to this, and we've been protecting it just like you have. Like, that's a good pitch.
Yeah.
And then to, you know,
he was kind of right. Like, I spent the whole movie being like, yeah, man, go Atlanteans.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. I kind of wish that, and I know this is just comic book stuff, but like the fact that they made all of they're not Atlanteans. I feel bad because they created a whole culture for these people, and I'm just going to keep calling them Atlanteans.
Timor or something,
Yeah.
Timorians.
But
or something like
they
that.
made them all blue, which I think gives you a little bit more
like
of a,
the goddamn Navis.
yeah, like a goddamn Avatar movie. But I think it gives you a little bit more like license to just like treat them as disposable. Because like, oh, now that they're weird blue alien creatures, we could just kill them indiscriminately. We don't have to worry about sacrificing our PG-13 movie. And it made it like, it made Namor kind of feel a little hollow to me, to be honest with you. Even though I think this dude's performance did really well, but by the time we get to the big climactic battle where we have 3 Iron Man suits flying around and all of these blue alien creatures climbing up a ship or whatever, and they were just mowing them the fuck down, I'm like, I mean, presumably that blue alien creature had a son. It was somebody's son or daughter. You know what I'm saying?
What's wild about that too is that the end of the fight, you know, the end of this movie. Go back to the beginning of this episode, everyone listening, and imagine we said spoilers. At the end, the Wakandans are almost dead. Like it ends with them at the very end when Shuri comes back with Namor. There's like 6 Wakandans left from their whole army.
Yeah,
being surrounded by Atlanteans. Like, a lot of people just fucking died in this.
Yes.
You know, so it's weird. Like, everyone's pretty disposable in this. We're only supposed to care about Chadwick Boseman and Angela Lansbury, but like, a lot of people die.
I'm here.
It does make that feel kind of silly, like the funerary tone from before.
I'm here for the movie where Angela Lansbury is Chadwick Boseman's mother, and I think we all are. But I just want to make sure you say Angela Bassett so Twitter doesn't come after you.
Oh, fucking A, man. Whoops. Yeah. Murdering Chi-Ho. Yeah, Angela Bassett. My bad.
We also are introduced to Ironheart, Riri Williams, a character
Yeah.
I am not familiar with from the comics really at all. I just have not
Mm-mm.
really delved in. But I knew people were super excited because of her personality and a young black woman who is technologically gifted and kind of following in Tony Stark's footsteps a little bit as far as like creating the robotic suits. I think is really, really super interesting. And she's great.
And meaner. Like her catchphrase in this movie is like shit.
Yeah.
Like she's constantly like, oh shit. Like it's very Chicagoan in a way that I liked a lot.
Yeah. I thought she was great. And all of her interactions with the main cast, I thought were super good. Like all of that stuff was really fun. Can you imagine? You and I have sat down and done like an actual podcast about these movies in the past, the ones we really, really enjoy and are really excited to talk about. Can you imagine sitting down and like going beat by beat through this movie with you, with each other? Like just how much of a like, how many large sighs we would do.
Martin Freeman and Julia Louis-Dreyfus are meeting with the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Apparently, Martin Freeman hasn't told everything to the Joint Chiefs of Staff, but Julia Louis-Dreyfus knows, and they were married.
Wild, dude. Absolutely wild.
And there's a joke about riding your Peloton.
Like
it's a dick. And
yeah, I do remember that. Weird that those two are married or were married at some point. Like it just seemed like a weird.
No need.
It's such a weird vibe. Like, are they setting up the prequel where we learn about all of these people? I didn't get it.
God, I cannot wait for the animated series that just Martin Freeman jogging.
Yeah.
Just the different jogs he's gone on in his youth.
It's gonna be
while thinking about Wakanda.
Like, did you like Curb Your Enthusiasm and Veep? Well, we've got a much worse one of those. The other big scene I think I want to talk about before we close the book on Wakanda Forever for a while is when she finally creates the magic juice to make her into Black Panther, which requires
with Killmonger.
Yeah. So we saw this in Black Panther where like he met his father. And she drinks the juice. I think 100% believing she's going to go see Chadwick. She's going to go see Black Panther, her king, and doesn't. Instead, Killmonger shows up. And I think this was maybe like the most emotional. Like for as emotional as this movie wanted me to be, this was the only time that they really fucking nailed it.
Yeah, I'm really glad they had an excuse to bring Killmonger back.
Yes,
ridiculous charisma on that dude, and it worked this worked thematically as well. Like this whole, it's weird because if you squint, I can see what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
She is supposed to be this version that's carrying on Black Panther's legacy of like non-isolationism and fear and Killmonger's fierce protection of the nation, but not being superstitious, like mixing technology with the old ways, right? Like this plays into that. She's talking about, she eventually makes the Black Panther suit, but also uses her sonic shooters or whatever. She's marrying those two things. She's also marrying, Killmonger and Black Panther's ideologies here a little bit. The common refrain, like Killmonger was right. He had a point. They eventually made him like a shitty villain, and just made him kill everybody for no reason, but he had a good point.
Yeah.
Up to a point. So it's a reason why people love that movie. This as a conclusion of that and underlying it, I thought was really effective.
Me too. I thought that was all. Yeah. And seeing Michael B. Jordan show up was just like, again, you mentioned like so much natural charisma. We're rewatching The Wire, and you don't forget that he is in that, and that's probably what maybe the thing that he is most known for. Not at this point, but for a long time. But he is just so good in that too. Like he just comes off as such a natural and like wonderful person to watch that. It's gonna make me watch those Creed movies, Gary. Like that's where I'm leading. I was like, oh god,
same.
I gotta go watch
these.
These
are fucking sequels to Rocky, and I'm still gonna watch them.
Dude,
like,
I see advertisements for Creed 3, and I'm like, am I gonna fucking watch Kang versus Killmonger? Yes, I am. I'm gonna get into this.
Yeah. The other thing I want to say just real quick before we get off of Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, is one of the things I was thinking about. We were talking about X-Men before. You know who would make a great Storm? Angela Bassett.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Like, why don't they, whenever they're casting Storm in these movies, they never go for Regal?
Yeah.
And like Regal is the way. Like that is what they should be doing. They fuck that up. Halle Berry is not Regal. Like she's been in good stuff. She's been a good actress. She's not Regal. And that, the character that they did for the kid Storm was never anything good. Like, I know they can't do that now because she's already played a character. She's probably over this. But like, I wish I could whisper that in a casting director's ear. Like, if you're going to have an adult X-Men team and a kid X-Men team, or if you're going to have any old guard, like Regal. Storm should be, a very statuesque, like a Grace Jones figure almost.
I want that. I was thinking of what is this woman's name? Did you see Lovecraft Country?
I only watched the first couple episodes of that. Because I read the book and liked it, and it varied from the book, and I became a weird like.
It made me mad.
Yeah,
the woman that played Letitia's sister, Wunmi Masaka. I'll send you her IMDb link. Like she, towards the end of that, there's like this weird like sci-fi queen alien kind of vibe that happens, which is kind of nuts. I
remember that from the book.
Yeah, no. But she fucking kills it, and it just makes me think that she would be just fucking perfect for that part. So
I should finish watching that show.
It's it's wild. The creator, because HBO didn't do a season 2, and she just like released all of her plans on Twitter for season 2.
I love it when that happens.
Dude, so it was so cool. Like I was having such a good time with it.
Yeah. This is neither here nor there. Did you ever read the pitch for Half-Life 3?
No.
That the original writer wrote? Yeah, like it's out there. Like they never made a Half-Life 3, and they probably won't. And if they do, it's going to be informed by like Alex and Revelations and that. But you can read the original plans for it online if you Google it, and it's super cool.
And finally, let's talk about Ant-Man, the Quantum Mania, the third Ant-Man movie. I think you and I, in general, are more positive on these movies than most people.
The Ant-Mans?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so. I've liked all the Ant-Man movies. I liked the first one. I thought the second one was real fun.
Yeah, I like the second one has the lady from Dark Souls, right?
The lady from Dark Souls.
The Emerald Herald, isn't she in? Do I have that
wrong?
wrong?
I don't know. Oh, yeah, there's somebody who looks like her who's going to be a Thunderbolt.
Oh,
if that's what you mean, Ghost?
Who plays Ghost? Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember. That's Ant-Man 2. I haven't seen it since it came out. Like, these aren't movies I watch multiple times or anything in a general sense.
Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Now I'm just fucking dying to know what the hell I am talking about. Like, okay, so she was, now I'm going through all the lists. It's like, oh, she was Jill Valentine in Resident Evil. Oh no, I wasn't far off. She was Sweet Shalquor in Dark Souls 2. She was the cat.
Oh, that's awesome. Sweet Shalquor is getting work. That's awesome.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah. People don't like this movie for reasons I don't understand. Like, and specifically critics. Like, if you look at Rotten Tomatoes, it's certified rotten. It's like less than 50% of critics liked it, but the audience score is like 83, and it is like a really solid B+ to me.
Yeah.
Like I thought this was really good and fun, and it felt a lot like to me that critics were writing reviews of it, then they were just kind of sick of the ongoing project of the MCU, which is fair. It just doesn't reflect on this specific movie that much.
Yes.
I
think there's some complaints that you can have about this movie. And like the big one for me is that they really want this to be like they show us at the start of like this family that is together. I mean, not Cassie's mom or anything. She's not included anymore. R.I.P. Judy Greer, who dies off screen. Apparently, I don't know what happened to Judy Greer. But this like
she's in the same Airbnb with all of Scott's friends.
Exactly. Yeah,
like that whole crew.
They're off doing Shaun of the Dead too.
Yeah.
They start out with this family, and like what I really wanted from this when I saw that was like, oh, I want these people to experience like whatever this adventure is all together. And the first thing they do is like split them off into teams. And I feel like one team had some really good chemistry, and I think the other team just did not have any chemistry whatsoever. And I was kind of torn in between it. But everything that happens throughout the movie, like it just felt like a fun, like sci-fi romp. Like you talked earlier about having like this superhero movie not really be in the superhero genre for She-Hulk. And that's what this feels like, right? Like this feels just like, hey, we're Star Wars now, or we're going to do like a cool space movie for no reason. And it's just fun. Like I just had a good time with it.
My troll feeling for the whole thing was like, oh, it's like Star Wars, but good. Like it's Star Wars, but like more fucked up dudes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like Star Wars will throw a guy like an alien with a fucked up head at you, like all the time.
But he still was raised by both parents. Like he's not fucked up enough for Gary Butterfield.
yeah, I need him to be more fucked up. And the fucked up heads in this were great.
Yeah, all of them.
There were way more fucked up little aliens.
I thought all of the little weird alien guys that we meet were so fucking cool and awful and hilarious. Like the guy who just wants holes in him, like that dude was fucking ruled.
The whole guy, fun payoff for that joke.
Fun payoff.
The bit where they're the delicacy where the little octopus and the guy made it grow.
Yep, perfect.
You know, and had the fight, great little scene. A lot of shit like that. Like really, the setting for this like drew tons of shit because I think it does look bad in stills.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't look bad to me in motion.
Yeah, I felt
right. Like watching it, I was like, no, this just looks like an alien landscape. Like this is not absolutely top tier striking alien landscape. Like it's not the best alien landscape I've ever seen, but this does the job.
Yeah.
It's not, this is fine.
It's not Dune 2021, right? Like it's not, but also I don't think it's trying to be that. I think it wants to be dumb and campy and weird, and it wants to have weird little guys,
colorful
and huge bright colors everywhere. Like I think they just wanted to kind of go crazy and paint with this huge brush. And like realistically, I feel like we're getting what would have been a Fantastic Four movie at this time in an Ant-Man vehicle. Because this feels...
Between this and Wakanda Forever, like, Wakanda Forever had the Queen from the surface flirting with Namor. You know, we're not so different. And I was like, oh man, Susan Storm should have been in this role.
This is exactly what we need.
Like, they're just giving away everything the Fantastic Four could do, including Chidi.
Yeah.
Like, they're just giving everything away that the... Like
hearts are broken.
It's all going away.
It William Harper?
Mine is.
William Harper.
Sucks.
Is that his name? But
William Jackson Harper
is not going to be playing Richard Reeds. What a bummer.
I fucking hate it. I liked him in this movie. I thought he was funny. But it would have been much better. Who the hell's a Quaz? I don't care about a Quaz.
Yeah.
I much prefer. He should have been Reed Richards.
I do think all of his stuff with the whatchamacallit, all of the telepathy stuff, where he's like, stop thinking that. And like, I think that played off of Paul Rudd's just like natural comedic charm and timing really, really well. I think all that stuff was great.
But that's part of like, that kind of leads into another reason why I think this movie worked is so the set of the family, I'm assuming that you're saying, didn't work was the Wasp and, Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yes.
And, it didn't work, but individually, I end up liking those characters and performances enough. Like it doesn't have as much charisma with each other, but like I like this version of Hank Pym. I like this version of Janet Van Dyne. Evangeline Lilly, I'm still not sold on. Like I don't think that she's done a whole lot as New Wasp. And I might be being biased because in real life she's an anti-vaxxer. So this could be just me being, I don't think I knew that about her. So that's interesting. So now her performance will make sense. I feel like she did not have tons of charisma in this, but I ended up liking the way that Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Douglas bounced off each other just fine. That was all good. And on the other hand, everyone else on the other side was actually perfect. Like Paul Rudd has charm that, for Miles can carry anything basically. And Catherine Newton, who played his daughter, was really great in this.
Yeah.
They're killing it on introducing new Avengers, as far as I'm concerned,
dude.
Or young Avengers, rather.
Between everybody they've introduced so far has been a win for me. With the exception of what's the little kid Hulk's name, Shulk or whatever. Like, but that's only
Scar.
Scar.
He only shows up for a second,
5 seconds. Yeah, that's it.
But he does look like shit.
He did look like absolute shit. Shouts to Catherine Newton, who came up on Supernatural. I got to give her some huge points for that. It's wild watching her in this because pretty much throughout this movie, I was like, yeah, she went through that on Supernatural. Yeah, this is. I mean, if you take the space part out of it, she kind of went through this with her parents, with her like found family or whatever. Like it's a lot of the same thing, but it's funny watching her as like a grown woman now when I've been watching her for so long on the other show that I cover on a podcast. Michelle Pfeiffer's performance, I think, did not work for me very well at all. It was the times in the movie I was the most taken out of it was when she was doing anything actiony. Because I'm sure this woman just does not want to do like crazy weird stunts or anything. So it just really, really looked like she was just like filmed outside of everything. She looked the most unnatural in this crazy unnatural world to me. And they lean on her a lot in this movie for, kind of my main problem with her is that she could have just told people this. Like if she had just had a conversation with people, a lot of this movie wouldn't have happened, which you can say about a lot of movies. That's not necessarily a complaint. I kept expecting her to be like, oh yeah, I should just talk. We should sit down, and have a drink.
It's frustrating to have a character constantly say, we don't have any time, and waste way more time than they would do just by explaining it.
Yeah.
That's very frustrating. I think like maybe part of giving her as much stuff to do and kind of accounting for her time in the quantum realm and making it important was a little bit of like a shout out to the character.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, like
doing the character
Evangeline
justice.
Lilly, like daughter Wasp, has not had a whole lot to do in these movies, and Janet Van Dyne Wasp is a founding Avenger. Like in the comics, they wanted to make her important and cool. In this, it worked for me, but I agree with you that the action was not good.
Yeah,
and I agree she should have just talked.
I didn't like, I didn't even think about that, like them wanting to do, and I still think they wanting to give tribute to the character more than they have in the MCU. I would watch like Hank and Janet in the fucking 60s right now, like put that on the MCU.
Do that as an animated series, or do that as a, because I mean you don't want to de-age them that much. Like actors are getting fucking old, man.
Well, I do not want those two people in it whatsoever. Like I want,
yeah. Do young Hank and Janet as Shield agents who have this superpower.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back in the day as a period piece.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
All to really the good. Cool. I feel like we have to talk about Kang. Who?
Oh yeah,
dude, this guy's so fucking cool. We were just talking about Lovecraft Country, and now I mean, this dude is he's just so fucking cool and amazing in this. Like I loved his performance as that Kang has all these Kangs have a name.
The one who remains.
The one who remains. And yeah, but then he's here and he's just like. The only thing I don't know. I can't even. I'm so excited to talk about this. I don't even know what to say. Sorry.
You got Jonathan Majors disease. The funny thing is contrasting him with Michael B. Jordan, because Michael B. Jordan, and I'm not contrasting them because they're black. I'm contrasting them because they're villains in a Marvel movie. Michael B. Jordan has incredibly easy charisma. You know, like Michael G. Borden.
Colossus.
Everything seems really natural, right? Jonathan Majors, everything has effort and intention to it. It doesn't feel. It's still incredibly charismatic, but it's off-putting. You know, in a way, he's making the same kind of reasonable points at some points. You know, like Kang's a villain, Kang's a jerk, but he's making some reasonable points and everything. But it comes off as unsettling and like interesting as opposed to just easy. Mm-hmm. If that distinction makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it feels like they're both making choices to do this. I'm not undervaluing either of them. One of them, the choice they're making is to have this come off as natural and like, you know, this is the most reasonable thing in the world. And Jonathan Majors is making a choice of like, no, I want to give a really weird kind of canted energy to all of my scenes and deliveries that make them like it's charismatic. There's no other word for it.
Yeah.
I find him very arresting. I did at the end of Loki as well. All of the scenes in this movie that he's in, I thought were super cool to watch. I think he sold the threat really well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like as just somebody for whom like, yeah, this is all small ball.
Yeah.
You know, this shit does not matter. There's a lot of people who've discoursed about him in a non-performance way of just like, it sucks that he gets taken out by Ant-Man because Ant-Man sucks. And like, no, he gets taken out by like 4 Ant-Men and an entire army.
Yeah.
You know, it's not quite that like that simple.
Although arguably the worst part of this movie is just him and Ant-Man like in this huge magical crazy universe they're in, just like throwing hands, like punching one another.
I like the end fist fight because it was like they're all fucking desperate, you know.
Sure.
I really like the Ant-Man, like again there's gonna be spoilers, but like I don't have to win, I just need to make sure you lose.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Is
a really good compromise for a character of this power level fighting, you know, the equivalent of Thanos.
Yes. Yeah. And I thought that was it's just funny when you realize like you're sitting back and you're like, oh, they're just punching each other in the face. Okay, well I guess everything gets settled in that kind of way. Like we're down.
It's just, what if Paul Rudd and Jonathan Majors got into a fight? Finally, it can be shown. I thought he was great in this. I thought the idea of him getting exiled because, you know, in this universe, this version got exiled. And I love like all the little deliveries where it's like, you know, when Michelle Pfeiffer realizes if she lets him out, he's going to do a lot of awful stuff. He's like, you're going to destroy worlds. And he goes, not yours, you know, as if that explains it. Like that makes it okay.
Yeah.
No, you're going to be okay. I'm going to grant you this mercy. Like he's still in power even when he's not.
And the delivery on all
again,
this
Regal
stuff, on this stuff, like you mentioned, is just, it's so weighty, and he does it with such a pure intention of weirdness that like you're every time like he kind of looks at somebody and like clearly explains what he's doing, you're just like, who is this weird fucker? I do not want to be in the same room with him. Like he's genuinely threatening. And even in like the post credit scene or the first, I guess,
Victor Timely.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I love Victor Timely so much. Some Silver Age Batman ass name.
But seeing well, I guess not the post credit scene, but the, what do they call it, the mid credit scene, seeing him do multiple Kangs in a scenes like straight from the comics, like makes me so super excited about all of the future of the MCU. Of him as this, like,
the Immortus and Ramen Ta.
yeah, if it's just a Jonathan Majors vehicle for like the next 10 years, sign me the fuck up, dude. I'm ready.
And Multiplicity. The one of the weird things about that I think works for his performance is that they give him the scars to kind of match the lines on King's Mask,
Mhm.
and it always kind of looks a little bit like he's crying. You know, like there's this weird way where he has this, he'll tilt his eyebrows and kind of make them look sympathetic, and with the scars coming across his eyes, it makes it look like he's been crying constantly. Like it's this weird trick that works on me. Like added a lot of gravitas
Oh, okay.
to it.
Okay, now I see what you're talking about. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It just I always it always looked like it to me. And it's a really interesting idea. Again, we were talking about them expanding the threat to Kang. You know, he can be taken out. It's not a Thanos thing where it's like incredibly difficult to take him out. They can only do it once he's either through time shenanigans or stuff like that. He can be taken out. He can just transition multiverses. There's infinite of him.
Yeah.
You know, he has that power. So like you can't really, an individual might be might be capable to take him out, but eventually he will win through numbers.
There's always going to be a Kang out there somewhere doing Kang stuff.
Yep. Yeah. It makes me, I was excited to see this movie because, I like the One Who Remains stuff in Loki, but when they announced that it's going to be Secret Wars and the Kang Dynasty as movies, I was like, oh, how are they going to do this? And it really worked for me.
Yeah, I think they've got a really good setup for all of this stuff, especially with the way that they've played with multiverse stuff in the Spider-Man movie, like bringing in other licensed properties, the way that like they have Deadpool there to make it like really, really weird and meta, but then also like this kind of stuff where it's just like Ant-Man and he has to deal with the problem, like all of that stuff, like the setup for all of this is really, really cool. And it actually genuinely makes me excited about like other stuff that's coming. And I think the next like big MCU thing is in May, which is the Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And once again, I am just like, I feel like that's just going to be another Wakanda Forever for me. Like, I don't feel like it's going to forward the MCU on very much. I think it's going to be much more of a goodbye to all those characters, and I'm just not looking forward to it. But
yeah, I was going to do a quick rapid fire as we wrapped up to kind of rate interest levels and stuff on the slate.
I'll save some of that
right
stuff
now.
Then.
No, I will do it right now. So Guardians of the Galaxy 3, not feeling it, eh?
Yeah, not feeling it, eh?
Yeah.
Definitely not feeling it.
I wish that it wasn't the guy who's playing Adam Warlock, who also plays the jackass kid in Midsummer. I think has a stupid punchable face.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't like that.
Also, Harry Styles is in that movie, which I don't care about.
Say what?
I think Harry Styles is in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be weird to make me care about Rocket's origin. I don't think that's going to work.
Yeah.
I liked Guardians 2 a lot. I thought Guardians 1 was okay. Don't have high hopes.
Yeah.
Might be all right. The Marvels, I'm kind of interested in. I liked Captain Marvel. I liked Monica in WandaVision a lot. I think it's cool that she's going to get in movies. This isn't coming out until the end of the year, but
yeah,
that's cool.
And you have not seen Miss Marvel yet, right?
Not yet.
Okay. That will make you. I was like kind of mid excited for more the Marvels just for Monica Rambeau and because I like Brie Larson a whole lot. But watching Miss Marvel and realizing she's going to be like playing off of those two made me 100% more excited for that movie. Like it absolutely converted me into a Marvels fan. I haven't even seen the movie yet. I was like, yes, this has got to be great.
There's really no reason I haven't watched it yet. I just was getting through stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to watching it. And we'll talk about it because we have TV shows that have built up as well for one of these. Captain America, don't know about what that will be or anything like that, but I really like Falcon Cap.
Mm-hmm.
I liked him at the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think that's cool. Good actor, IMO. Weirdly kind of excited about Thunderbolts. I think that's a fun idea. It's real strange to take side characters from movies that people didn't like and TV shows and make them a team. It feels like a dry run for what we want them to do with X-Men a little bit.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
you know, I'll be really curious as to how that works out.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm
yeah.
cautiously excited for that. I think.
Yeah.
I just I don't know. I just sometimes I just like and they sold me on the Avengers. I remember when they like started the MCU and I was like, ugh, the Avengers. Do X-Men, do the cool team, and like
Yeah.
now I am completely sold on the Avengers. Right, like 20 years later, here I am. So maybe they'll do that with the Defenders too. But I also feel like the Defenders. Okay, let's see what
Or
you
the
got.
the Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts, not Defenders. I'm sorry.
If they bring the Defenders in, I'm out. the like Hulk, Namor, Silver Surfer, and Doctor Strange.
I heard that they
whatever.
they threw money at somebody to produce. You saw Hawkeye? You watched Hawkeye, right? We talked about that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They're actually making a real version of that like dumb play that
The musical.
the musical.
Yeah.
Fuck that. I think that's dumb.
Yeah. No, super fuck that. Like I have no interest in that. That's irritating to me. And then obviously they're bringing in, Deadpool and Fantastic Four, all this stuff that we don't know. We literally know nothing about.
Yeah.
That's coming through.
We've also got Secret Invasion.
Yep. Secret Invasion I'm excited about. I think that's cool. I'm curious as to see how they'll do it.
I just noticed as I'm looking through this list because I got excited because I'm a secret stan of Agent Mariah Hill, Kobe Smulders, but she's credited right along next to your boy Everett Ross, Martin Freeman.
Hell yes,
he returns.
He's back, baby.
Everett Ross will
what
return.
If he's been a scroll this entire time, and that's why we spend so much time on it?
Okay, the payoff would work. I'm ready.
They got to be some kind of payoff. They did it with what's her head, who turned out to be the power broker in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Did
so they might have a payoff.
Did you know that they cast Emilia Clarke as Abigail Brand?
No, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
I just saw that. I'm the Hollywood Reporter, so I'm assuming that this is legit. Newcomers to the MCU include Emilia Clarke as Sword Commander Abigail Brand, Olivia Colman as Agent Sonya Falsworth, and Kingsley Benadir as Skrull Leader Gravik. So I don't know.
Oh, Gravik.
Gravik is
yeah.
Abigail Brand, though, dude.
Gravik.
That's super exciting. I just want to see her. I want to see who Emilia Clarke is going to have to make out with to be married to Beast in a few years.
Beast. Yeah. That's awesome. That's interesting. Well, and also, what is it? Stephen Yu has been cast, and people don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really cool because I love that guy. That actor is fucking incredible.
There's also Echo, which I think me and you both are like, okay.
I could not care less about Echo. I don't understand why people want it.
It's wild to me that that people responded to that comic so much, and then also responded to the character as they represented her in the Hawkeye TV show.
Yeah, that's fucking weird.
Loki season 2, Ironheart should be super good, probably, right?
Yeah, curious about Ironheart. Loki season 2 should be great. That we only referred to it obliquely, but that post credit scene in Quantumania, which is has Loki and Owen Wilson hunting down different Kangs, and they find Victor Timely, the weird 20s Kang, with the AOD haircut. If that's what they're doing in that season, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Like Kang Hunt. It reminds me, did you ever read the comic, the reboot of Extreme X-Men, I think, with Dazzler as the leader of the team, where they're hunting down evil Xaviers from other dimensions?
No. That sounds awesome.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Like it's not perfect, but it's
throw that on
worth checking out.
Throw that on the DOFC list, man. I don't think we've talked about that, but that sounds great. hunting Xavier needs to. We need to get into that.
I've only read a little bit of it, so it's yeah.
There's also I didn't know this, but I don't know how to pronounce this dude's name. Kai Hai Kwan from, you may recognize him from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh yeah,
that guy. He is in Loki season 2.
Oh, phenomenal.
Yeah,
that's great. I like him a lot too.
I'm just going through. Going through the list now to see if there's anything interesting that might be coming up that we haven't caught. Oh, there's also the Agatha TV show, which seems super weird.
Yeah, Covenant of Chaos, which I think that one of the things I think that could do. I think the kids, Wanda's kids, are cast in that, the actors. So if they were going to make Speed and Wiccan like young Avengers ready, they could do some magic shenanigans and rehabilitate them up.
Yep, and do it.
That would be fine.
Daredevil Born Again should be super good.
I'm excited about that. I think that's a cool idea.
Charlie Cox has kind of said publicly, like, obviously they can't say much, but he's like, oh yeah, this is like, when people are asking about like the violence and comparing it to the Netflix series, he's been like, yeah, you need to think of this as like a different kind of adaptation of the character. Like even though it's me playing the character and it's following some of those things, like this is a different. Like I feel like it's not going to be the absolute gore fest. Like we're not going to have Kingpin slamming a dude's head into a car door until he decapitates someone and born again. I think.
Well, that it's weird too because we talk about part of the reason why the MCU short circuits so many people's brains. I think is because it only makes sense if you're looking at it as through an adaptational lens from comics, and like Daredevil has had bright superhero periods.
Yeah.
He's not always the dark guy who's decapitating people indoors, who has the time. Sometimes he's, a bright and colorful superhero. And I think that's part of why he was in the gold and red outfit in She-Hulk
to mark that
was
difference.
just like preparing us for fun Daredevil. He doesn't decapitate anyone in that show. So at least that I could see.
I think that's all of like the announced projects that they have put out there so far. So it's, I think, and there's probably a bunch of stuff that they just have not announced yet. Like we've said earlier, I really hope they do more like spontaneous Werewolf by Night kind of like, oh, this is coming out next month without a whole lot of hype and things like that. So
yeah, I was very disappointed there was no Fantastic Four X-Men shit.
Yeah,
at the end of Quantumania or Wakanda Forever. There very well could have been. There's a little bit, Wakanda Forever, Namor says he's a mutant straight up.
Yeah.
It's the first time they've used the word.
He says the M word. I got he even says he was the first mutant, I think, which is a real important thing from the comics. So I think that's really cool. I didn't know this and I didn't recognize this guy. I watched like I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson.
Hell yeah.
And it was great. But I saw a video of Paul Rudd being interviewed and they were asking him about how it was to work with Ruben Rabassa. And who I guess is in Ant-Man Quantumania.
Yeah, he's the barista.
Okay.
In the beginning.
And Paul Rudd just like geeked out. He's like, I fucking loved that show. And as soon as he got on set, I was freaking out. I didn't know if you recognized him or not because it totally missed me. So
I will never not recognize that guy. It all, God, I know this is like absolute normie bullshit to say, but like Paul Rudd seems so good.
I know, man.
As a guy, and I don't know. I want to hang out with him and say hi. Like that's awesome.
Seth Rogen has a joke that when he started working with Paul Rudd, Paul was older than him, and now he is much older than Paul Rudd. That's really funny.
Yeah, he's beating him. He's lapping him.
It's very hilarious. I feel like Cole. I feel like that's you and Cole. I feel like Cole is much older than you now. So
yeah, he started off much younger, but now all he does is maintain garages and like do projects in sheds and shit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm joking. I love Cole. Speaking of people who Cole knows, after Uncanny X-Force and this which happens after that, even though we haven't recorded the end of that, and MCU TV stuff, we're going to go into our next comics thing, and it's much shorter than Uncanny X-Force. We're going to be joined by Duckfeed producer Gwen, my friend and yours, to talk about Old Man Logan.
Yes.
Which I'm really excited about. I have a complicated relationship with Mark Millar. Is actually, I think, how you're supposed to pronounce it. But when I was in my mid-20s and into comics and was kind of an edgelord, like that edgelord stuff that he does really appealed to me, quite a bit. Like I read a lot of Mark Millar comics, and some of them I think hold up pretty well. I think that people get sick of his bullshit, like the bullshit part of him, and reject everything. Like there's a lot of throwing out the baby with the bathwater with that guy. Like Old Man Logan just feels like a fun alternate universe future story to me. It doesn't feel like, oh, this is just him being cynical to the point of poisonousness.
Yeah.
Like I rather like that comic. It'll be fun to talk about.
It is. And it's not like super long either. I'm trying to look up how many issues it is now.
It's like 8 issues, I think.
It's longer than that, I think. Did they get
to
they get to 50 issues of Old Man Logan?
Oh no, we're not doing the ongoing series of when Old Man Logan. I don't. Well, actually, I'll have to check in with Gwen. What Gwen was suggesting. I don't think that we're doing the ongoing series where he got folded into the 616.
Just the 1 through 5 of like the introduction, maybe.
Yeah, the future story that tells his origin.
Interesting.
The Mark Millar and so that's what I think. But Steve Niven. I will check in with Gwen.
Sure.
If it's all 50 issues, then Gwen's off the cast. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, we can't do that.
Like, I've never read those. I don't know if those are any good.
I don't want to read all that shit again.
Yeah.
This is. I think it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be fun to have a guest on too, so I'm not just talking to dumb old Gary all the time.
I'm a piece of shit, man.
Oh God, you're such a piece
Boring
of
and
shit.
dumb. Yeah.
It's a good thing you're good looking, or else I wouldn't keep you around.
I'm really easy on the eyes and really hard on the ears. That's why I got into podcasting. It'll be really fun, and there's a lot of fun shit that, like, it's Hawkeye and Wolverine cruising across the country on the spider buggy, being chased by dinosaurs infected with the venom virus.
Perfect.
And stuff. Like, it's real goofy. So, Venom symbiote. What should people do if they like this show?
They should go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv, and they should donate a couple of dollars every single month. And in return for their hard-earned bucks, they will get a just absolute fuck ton of exclusive content. Y'all do so much stuff on the Patreon. It's ridiculous. A lot of cool podcasts. Y'all's coverage of the movie that you and I were just texting about that
Something in the Dirt?
Something in the Dirt. Thank you. Mine completely blanked. Was super good, and I think that's a Patreon exclusive. Unfilmable is Patreon exclusive, right?
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that episode a lot too.
It's good.
So, we've now done all of the Benson and Moorhead.
Yeah.
Movies.
I can't wait for him to release another one.
Yeah, they're great. They're directing a couple episodes in Loki season 2.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. You can also leave us ratings and reviews
on
Apple Podcasts or Podcast Addict. The most important thing, though, is to tell your friends. Let's say you have friends who are into these Marvel movies or these Marvel comics.
Gary,
why not?
Gary,
huh?
We're doing an outro and we have not talked about MODOK. I'm sorry.
Oh fuck! Like, what did we do? Thank you.
I'm so sorry. I knew there was something we were forgetting about Ant-Man. I was like, man, we transitioned fast from Ant-Man into future MCU stuff. What are we forgetting to talk about? And I was
damn you, Kang.
I literally had the IMDb page up and I'm scrolling down going, oh wait, MODOK.
we got trapped by Kang's time trickery.
God damn it, Kang.
He teleported us into the future. MODOK.
Yeah. I love that this movie absolutely recognizes the fact that nobody is going to remember the villain of Ant-Man 1 because it was, I mean, that dude, it was an okay performance or whatever, but like it's such a non-entity of a character, and then set him up to be this the weirdest fucking thing that has ever happened in the MCU. Like, bar none, the weirdest fucking thing is so fantastic to me.
When it's him flying around with the mask that looks like actual MODOK's face.
Yes.
I was like, all right, this is exactly what I'd expect a movie MODOK to be.
Yes.
Sure. When he takes off the mask and it's that guy's face stretched out, like, my jaw dropped. It's just like, huh.
It's so weird because they showed this in the trailer, and I mentioned earlier that like I hated knowing that this existed because I feel like if I had no clue going into this, I would have just like fallen out of my seat. But as it was, I thought like the trailer stuff, I was like, oh, they're still working on that. Like, this is going to be one of those situations where they change Sonic, right? Like they're gonna make this look better. And no, I think they very specifically crafted this to look so unnerving and weird to make that be part of MODOK's like overall like impact, right? Like, I feel like they did all of this on purpose. People complain about it on the internet about, I can't believe the CGI looks so bad, and I'm like, no, dude, I think they did this on fucking purpose. I think they wanted this dude to look fucking weird.
Well, I don't know what you would look like if you just had a giant face that got stretched out to MODOK level. Other than that, like, and dude commits to it.
He does. He really does.
He really he's having a great time. Like, on some level, he knew what he'd be doing. I think like his face would be doing, like, oh, this is going to be giant and should make everyone uncomfortable.
Yes.
Like, pretty great. And also, to me, some sources of some legitimately like very funny lines.
Yeah.
Nobody was in the theater. I went and saw this in the middle of the day during the week. So it was just me and like a couple other people, but I laughed real loud at like, at least I died an Avenger. That's a very funny line. Like,
and it cuts to Paul Rudd going, sure, okay.
Yeah, he did. Like, it's just really funny. Like, that's a good joke.
And literally everybody who sees him is like, oh my God, what did you do?
Like, what happened to you? Like,
So
you got little baby legs. He's like, no, they're normal. And they are normal. His head's just real big.
And then there's like the real like emotional thing that happens because when Cassie sees him, Cassie is like recovering from the PTSD of being terrorized by this wasp as a child in her bedroom. And then like now, and then by the end of the movie, she's like, okay, you just need to dial this down a little bit.
Yeah. Like,
so
God, you're being an
good.
asshole. And yeah, it's really pretty good. Surprisingly good. I'm kind of glad that he died.
Yeah.
In it. Like, I didn't need MODOK to keep coming back.
I just need
like, he wouldn't work. Imagine him in a more serious movie.
No, dude.
Like
no,
that
no,
face
no,
and
no,
stuff.
no.
Like, you can only do this in this weird little, we're talking about the genre thing, right? Like,
Mhm.
it being a superhero movie that is also crossed with this pretty wacky space adventure is why MODOK works in it.
Yeah, I mean, only in a movie where Hank Pym has a giant advanced ant civilization coming to save him from Kang can you get MODOK like, and his tiny little legs. Even just the like view of him, like when they show what happened to him, is it like grew to normal size, just his head grew to normal size, and Kang found him. I mean, it's just so dumb and great and fantastic, man.
Yeah, I had an immense amount of fun with MODOK. It was also really good to have a these movies do have a formula, right? Like, you watch enough of them and you see that characters have villains in this have shitty lieutenants, so the side characters can have something to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like Atuma, a big Namor villain, is in Wakanda Forever. You never know it. He's barely named, and it's just there so one of the Wakandan fighters could have somebody to fight.
Yeah.
On the ship.
Mm-hmm.
Having MODOK be Cassie's fight during the side of this was better than it just being nobody. Like, it was a character with like fun comic power to me, as opposed to it just being like another faceless dude.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just
another bit of armor.
Absolutely fantastic all the way around. I love it.
Yeah.
So much.
Loved him. Yeah. Good catch, man. We would have gotten fucking roasted rightfully.
We would have had to
retire in shame.
We would have had to record like an addendum. We would have had to come out with a special episode. Like, Gary, it's Saturday morning. Jump on the microphone. We forgot MODOK.
The first episode that was released entirely in the Notes app. Like, as an apology for like fucking up.
Let's collaborate on a Google document apology and then just release it. Release it like Siri narrating it for us. We also
the AI telling us.
We also didn't mention Bill Murray's cameo, which I could have completely lived without, to be honest with you. I'm kind of past my affection for Bill Murray that I had in my youth. So
it was fine, but not. They could have been anybody. Yeah. It was such a small part. Like, it wasn't like, oh man, this is awesome that this is Bill Murray. He's really killing it. He just showed up to be Bill Murray in a goofy outfit.
Yep. And I saw him do that in Zombieland, so I didn't need to see him do it here. So
yeah, exactly. It is nothing particularly good.
Okay. Now you can go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. And you can tell your friends about the podcast and tell them that we talked about MODOK in the Ant-Man podcast, because we're MODOK people.
Yes. You are now released to do so.
Please go do that. We love you. Be careful. Stay safe. We'll be back in a couple weeks with a new guest and old versions of your favorite characters.